iSport360. Ian, welcome to the Rush Development Coach Development webinar. Thanks for joining us so close in the holidays. I'm sure you're very busy. Give us a little bit about, thank you. Give us a little bit about your journey and your backstory, Ian, please.
Absolutely. Yeah. So thanks so much for having me here. It is an exciting time of year. It's a busy time of year. For me, I don't know how far you want to go back, but I've been an athlete my whole life. I've played almost every sport. I was never really great at any one sport, but I was, good enough. And so I played basketball and soccer and martial arts, baseball. So that was played a big role in my childhood. And then I started my professional career actually at the White House. Spent 2 years working for the President of the United States right out of college, which was pretty amazing. And then I was part of the first .com expansion and implosion. I worked for a few startups in the 90s into the early 2000s, working on website development and digital marketing and technology. So that's really what planted the seeds for me in terms of innovation. More recently, what brought me to today is that I've spent the last 10 years coaching my 2 young daughters. Actually, now they're 10 and 14 years old, but I've been coaching soccer and basketball here in New Jersey, and definitely saw some things that I wanted to change and impact.
Brilliant, brilliant. So, multi-sport athlete, right? You did some martial arts as well, and then the .com boom. You're involved in that, and then website and technology, and then 10 years coaching soccer and basketball. Worked at the White House. Now, which president did you work for?
I worked for the first President Bush during the first Gulf War here in the States, and then I actually worked a little bit into President Clinton's administration.
Wow, interesting. And I'm sure that you can't really delve into what you did there and talk about some of that stuff. Right.
It's not that big of a deal. I worked for the economic advisors to the president. It was unbelievably exciting to walk into that building every day and be part of those events. It was a time before September 11th when a lot of people had access there, and there were a lot of public functions, which unfortunately they can't do for security reasons anymore.
Yeah, huge though. That's massive, right? So did you got to meet the president, I assume, and stuff like that and stuff? Go before them, do some presentations?
I got to meet both of those presidents, and the nice thing is at this time of year, they always host a holiday party, and the President of the United States, at least back in those days, literally shook hands with every single employee of the White House, which back then was about, 1,000 people. So everyone got to shake hands with the president and meet the president. It was really nice.
Yeah, that's quite huge, right? So just looking at that, and just thinking about that, the president taking time to meet and shake hands with every employee of the White House, and you said there was over 1,000, but what a message that sends, right? What a message that sends. I'm the president, but I want to meet you and know what you do that makes my job harder or easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
which is huge.
It actually leads into a topic we're going to talk about today, and that is building culture amongst your team or your company or your government, right? I mean, the president is a leader and was building culture by saying, I am going to stand there for 3 hours, if that's what it takes, to shake every single employee's hand and get to know them a little bit.
Yeah, amazing. What amazing. Now, Juan Gonzalez Mendia, all the way from Argentina, but lives in England. He said, were you there when the White House went down? And what a movie that was, he says. So one's of South America coaching. He gets on all our webinars. He does a great job and stuff like that. So he'll have lots of questions. He usually does. And excuse my home phone ringing in the background if you can hear it.
That's okay. Juan's also my newest LinkedIn contact. We just connected. Yeah.
Brilliant. So that's my
greetings.
Yeah. So hopefully my role is connecting people all over the globe, and whoever's watching this webinar live or afterwards. So were you there when it went down?
I don't remember the White House going down.
Yeah, I think one's referring to a movie. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure that was just in the movie.
yeah, yeah, one good one. That's maybe a Christmas movie we'll have to watch, along with the good feeling ones. So now, I think it's huge there, right, Ian? And we did talk about building culture as a leader and stuff like that. So we don't want to jump ahead, but let's start with let's go. How did three? So you coached for 10 years. You've coached your children. You coach basketball. You've coached your daughters. What was it that prompted you to start the iSport360? So I think that will be a good starting point, and then we can delve into the discussions on how we fix the broken culture and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started coaching my kids just to get to spend some time with them, help kind of build a love for the sport. So I really enjoyed my time coaching my daughters. But I did have a few key moments when I really just I didn't know how to handle a situation, and I was kind of shocked by it. So, immediately, as soon as you start coaching pretty much anywhere in the United States, the first thing you notice are the parents on the opposite side of the field. So I would be calling out to my girls, I was coaching 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds in soccer. I'd be calling out instructions to them, and their parents would be on the other side line calling out the exact opposite instructions. So I found that challenging, and there literally were times when these 9-year-old girls would come off the soccer field and say, "Coach, I don't know what to do. You're telling me one thing, my parents are telling me another thing. It's stressing me out." And to hear a 9-year-old say that is, it's kind of shocking. They shouldn't have to deal with that. So I felt like coaches and parents need to do a better job of communicating first and foremost. I looked at the world of education. I'm surrounded by educators. My wife is an educator, and there are some great best practices for how teachers and parents and kids work together to make sure every kid has success. But not many of those practices are being applied in the world of youth sports. So I felt like I wanted to help that situation. And the other thing is, I look at our generation of kids, and I'm as guilty as any sports parent, but we speak on their behalf. We schedule their activities for them. We tell them what to do, where to go, what to say. We're nervous to let them talk alone with a coach because there's been, some bad stories of abuse. So what happens? We have a generation of kids that is not speaking on their own behalf. They are not building relationships with their coach. They're afraid to talk to them one-on-one. They are not building their own team communication because they count on the parents and the coaches to do all of the team communication. And thinking back to my days playing sports, and I'm sure it's true for you as well, Chris, we used to love building relationships with our teammates, celebrating victories together, supporting each other, just hanging out and building that camaraderie. And it's very, very hard to do these days. So I was inspired to start iSport360 to address some of these problems. And the three biggest issues that we're trying to address are, number one, helping coaches have the right tools and best practices to be successful, even if they're not trained educators. The second is helping parents understand their role. Frequently, parents try so hard to be helpful to their kids that they're actually a disruption. So helping them understand their role and how they can help their kids succeed. And finally, helping kids take control and take a leadership role in their own youth sports experience. So those are really the three things we're trying to do at iSport360.
Brilliant. And I just had a webinar with Johnny O'Sullivan, and I'm just looking for the notes to remember what he said the three biggest issues were around the world with the issues, right? And I believe some of that comes into it, obviously. But so it baffles me, like you said, you're coaching your 9-year-old daughter and you're giving direction, a group of 9-year-olds, and the parents on the other side are giving the exact opposite instruction. So obviously through this and your experiences, you've decided, so how can we make sports better for the stakeholders? How can we make sport better for everybody involved? So outcomes i360, right? So talk us through a little bit about what i360 does and how you've addressed some of the issues. Number one, to help coaches. Number two, helping parents understand their role to give the children success instead of being snowplow parents or bulldozer parents or Velcro parents, are some of the terms that are thrown around now, right? And then
Yep.
also helping children take control. But we'll do it one at a time in any order that you like. And I'm sure our audience will start to type in questions and ask for suggestions.
Sure. So by the way, you may notice a few things that I say sound like John O'Sullivan's
Yeah,
lines. And the reason is he was truly an inspiration for me to start this company. I read his book, Changing the Game, in 2015, I believe. And I immediately started reaching out. And he knows this. He knows I tell this story pretty regularly. I started reaching out to John O'Sullivan, introducing myself, telling him how much of an inspiration he is. And it took me probably a year and a half to finally pin him down for a phone call.
yeah,
And I'm very proud to say, here we are like 3 years later, John actually invites me to participate in his conferences and seminars, and I love it because I'm an evangelist for everything he says and does.
yeah,
The only slight difference is I created a software company in iSport360 to help give people the tools in their hand on their device to carry out that same mission that John talks about. So the first, so you asked about how we're helping in those 3 areas. So number one, let's talk about the parents on the sidelines. We've spent a lot of time researching why parents behave the way they do. And Chris, you've seen this for years. It's really a mystery to a lot of people because you could have the nicest person in your neighborhood, the most fun, friendly person, show up to watch their kids' sports game, and they suddenly become a monster. And so there's a lot of psychology and physiology behind why that happens. And so we launched a newsletter on 100,000 subscribers. We share articles for sports parents. It's like a support group for them. And we talk about understanding their own behavior and how that influences their kids' experience. Many kids will tell you their parents embarrass them, frustrate them, take the fun out of the game. So we are trying in a subtle, humble way to share our own experiences with sports parents to help them modify their behavior.
yeah, I think that's huge, right? And, when we do listen to the children, I usually talk to the adults through the children. So an example I'll give, I'll get in, we'll have 100 kids in a clinic, and I'll sit the kids down and I'll say to the children, okay, who here likes coloring? And they raise their hand. And I said, and then I'll pick a coach and I'll say, Coach, kneel down. I want you to pretend you're coloring and I'm your parent. So then I'll start, get the red, get the yellow, go faster, stay inside the lines. What are you thinking?
Yep.
And you get the giggles from the kids. And I said, well, would you want to color if that was the situation? And they're like, no. And then the other thing we'll do is okay, how many of you play music? Yeah, and I said, how many of your parents stand over you when you're playing the piano and say black key, white key, left, right?
Right.
Yeah, I said, and they're like, no. And I'm like, well, why? Why is that? And I'm like, and then you see the parents light bulb coming on. And of course you get the one character in the group that says, oh, I would like it if my parents did that.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because they want their parents to notice them.
Yep.
Put your handheld device down and notice us. So I think it's huge, right? So did you say 100,000 in your
Correct.
that get the newsletter, which is huge,
Correct.
right? And you send them articles, real life experiences. Is there video yet to show parent behavior on the sideline?
We don't try to call anyone out in particular,
Yeah.
but we do have videos that we feature. It's articles, it's videos. I will tell you, I think there's really something that made it very successful. We use a lot of humor. Like we
Yeah.
share the dumb things that we did as a sports parent or a coach on the sidelines. We share that with sports parents and coaches because sometimes we take our kids' sports a little too seriously. And I think that humor works better, for example, than getting parents on the sideline to sign a pledge saying that they are not going to misbehave. I don't think that works.
Yeah, we're going through the process now, Ian, of trying to put together rules, right? Codes of conduct. And my thing is, well, we don't want rules because people break rules, but we should have standards and expectations that are clearly defined and shared upon. But I also think the parents need to have a say in what they think those expectations should be. I don't think they should be dictated to by us, but I think they should be able to go, hey, this standards and expectations, maybe this needs to be in there, right? And actually get input from them, because they're the ones that have got to abide by it. But also talking to their children and how their children feel,
Yep.
So, but go in a little more. So you guys use humor. You've gone the humor route, which is great.
Yeah, I think one of the and we can spend an hour on sports parents alone, but I think one of the important things with sports parents is teaching them that when you are on the sidelines of your kids' games, you need to have some discipline. And I do this. All of the parents on the teams that I coach, they know they're guinea pigs because this is what I do for a living. And
Yeah.
I teach them to just be very aware of your own behavior. So if you want to cheer, that's fine. But like, take notice how cheering leads into subtle instructions, turns into like the nervous ticks, and then you're just calling out, shoot,
Yeah.
pass, go, and you're not helping your kid at that point. So
Real.
I try to teach the parents to just be so mindful on the sidelines. You don't need to be silent the whole time. Just be mindful of your behavior and how you can fall down that slippery slope.
Yeah, and something we've done here, or I've done with the groups that I work with, I try and tell them, okay, this is what we've been working on this week. For example, give and goes. Can you see how many attempts that we had at a give and go? Can you count successful give and goes? So we give little parents things to look for. We also ask that they applaud, that they cheer for good soccer, regardless of which team it's on, right? So appreciate that. And I've been
Yep.
fortunate enough to have guests like Sky Eddie Bruce from Soccer Parenting, Richard Shorter from Non-Perfect Dad in England, and then Gordon McClelland, who does
Yep.
working with parents in sport, and have those as guests, and they've given us ideas, right? So it's like a bingo checklist. Okay, my child did this. So now you're engaging parents. They're looking for things. We also ask that if it's a verb, right? Leave them. Don't give them the verbs. Just
Right.
applaud, and try to give them the difference between coaching and cheering, right?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. So I think the second area you asked about was, how are we helping coaches be more successful? And
yeah,
so what I've noticed is that there are not many coaches that are trained educators. There are certainly a lot of coaches who know their sport very well. There's a lot of coaches who are just volunteering their time because they want to spend time with their kids, and I love that. But I wanted to give those coaches the tools to be successful. And so, learning from the world of education, we wanted to create a platform where any coach, regardless of their experience, can set goals for the team based on the age and the gender and the sport that the kids are playing. Secondly, I wanted to give coaches a platform to share ongoing feedback. I think every coach has the intention of sharing feedback with the kids and the parents, but just can't find the time or doesn't have the discipline to do it. But it is so important to give ongoing feedback. So I wanted to make that an important part of our process. I wanted to give, again, even volunteer coaches, new coaches, I wanted to give them a tool to fairly and objectively assess the player's progress, which is also hard to do and is also usually very subjective. So we give them tools to do that. And also to share positive feedback. So like on iSport360, a coach or even a parent or a player can share sticker rewards because it's hard to give positive feedback all the time. It really, you have to remember to do it, but it's so valuable for the kids.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dig a little deeper. So the coach can get on and get on the app, and they can set goals based on the age and stage of development the children are in. To give us an example of something that you did for your basketball group, for example.
Yeah, so by the way, those goals, the coach doesn't have to generate them. The app actually generates them based on the sport, the age, the gender, and whether this is a travel team or a recreation team. But for my teams that I coach, I generally start the season by showing the parents and the kids the 10 goals that iSport360 set for our team. Some of these goals are based on technical skills. Some of them are based on tactical skills, physical skills, but also life skills, because we want to build, well-rounded players. So I share these goals at the beginning of the season because that immediately distracts the parents from focusing on winning and playing time. I want them to know that I care about their child, and this is what we're going to be working on together. So that sort of becomes like the overriding mission for the season. And then as soon as the season starts and we start practicing, I share feedback with the team after every practice and every game. It might be just a one-liner that I share with one or two players, or it might be something I share with the whole team. Like if I'm watching my U10 team and no one is heading the ball properly, we need to work on that together. So I share regular feedback, and the sticker rewards, which I mentioned, are the most popular feature for us. Kids love receiving fist bumps and thumbs up and muscle flexes and MVP trophies. So you can do all of that on the iSport360 platform, and it's a very kind of social and viral feature.
Brilliant. So just on the life skills, for example, the life skills goal, give us an example of a life skills goal that you might set as part of the 10 goals.
Yeah, coachability is a huge one.
Yeah.
How well does a child take instructions and apply them? Level of effort, how much effort is the player putting in at practice when no one's looking, or when they're tired after school, but they need to work hard there too. So we bring those together with things in soccer like passing and shooting and dribbling and foot skills, speed, agility, bring all of that together with the life skills.
Brilliant. And then, so do the players have the ability to set their own goals with iSport360, or is it coach driven?
So it's driven by the app, which by the way is driven by US Soccer. Like these standards are based on US Soccer's guidelines. For basketball, it's USA Basketball's guidelines. So we use the national governing bodies to drive the direction of what we're doing. But more and more we'll be adding customization, because I think that's what youth sports should be about. Every kid's going to have a different experience, but to start, we wanted to give them some structure.
Brilliant. Can you hear me okay, Ian?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, every now and again you freeze and you look like the Matrix, but it's I don't know whether anybody else is getting that.
Okay.
So I think that's huge, right? And then the first meeting that you have, is that a face-to-face meeting? And then you just explain the iSport360 and then say, hey, this is what we're using, this is what we're going to do, and then.
Yeah, I always start with an in-person meeting at the beginning of the season. I think it's a way to connect with the players and the parents. And in the spirit of John O'Sullivan and his good friend Jerry Lynch from The Way of Champions, I always start the season by telling the parents and the kids, I respect you, I respect your input and I especially tell the kids, I respect you and I respect everything that you do. If you're going to work hard with me, I'm going to work hard for you. And I want to see you grow, and I want to build trust in our relationship. And I encourage these kids at 9 and 10 years old to talk to me about anything that's on their mind. And as soon as a parent on that team, comes to me and says, "Oh, my daughter, she doesn't like playing defense. She wants to play striker," I say to the parent, "Have your daughter come talk to me.
Yeah.
I want them to learn to speak on their own behalf." So we set some expectations at that meeting. We set the team culture from that very first meeting. And then I tell them that we're going to be using iSport360, which is this new platform. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And I'm going to be sharing feedback and praise and stickers and homework assignments and instructional videos. So it becomes kind of a focal point of our team communication.
Brilliant, brilliant. And can you track attendance, for example, on that? If people are attending or not attending, there's a way to message and just.
So we don't have an attendance feature yet,
Okay.
but I like that idea very much. We do have messaging of all different types going on there. One of our newest features is it allows coaches to upload a practice assignment, and it could be a video, a YouTube video that you want the kids to watch, and then each player needs to indicate whether they've completed the assignment or not. So we're sort of moving in that direction.
Brilliant.
Which, by the way, leads to the third point about what we're doing to help kids become more empowered. And I'll keep this part brief, but we just launched iSport360 for kids in the last few weeks. And it was time for kids to learn how to get feedback from coach, learn how to adapt and implement that feedback, learn how to communicate with their own teammates, bring up their teammates when they're struggling, and celebrate together when they're doing well. So really, kids have become the focal point of iSport360. And that's pretty unique in the youth sports space because almost every technology out there is focused on the adults, the coaches' needs, the parents' needs, the league commissioners' needs. So I think we're unique in that sense.
Yeah, I think that's huge, right? And we talk and we hear about all the time about player-centered approaches and child-centered approaches, but are they really? Are they
That's
really?
right.
Yeah. So we've got a question come in. Let me just try and pull this. And this is from Juan as well. Juan Gonzalez Mendia, your newest LinkedIn friend from Sudamerica Coaching. Ongoing learning in between practices is something I have been trying to develop as a facilitator. Most coaches will go, "That's a great practice, see you on Thursday." How can we get learning to prevail, be a part of dinner conversations, playground banter? What sort of tasks do you suggest?
So one thing for sure is I encourage you to give them a homework assignment. Like it could be as simple as for little kids, give them the assignment of going home and working on a skill and giving it a name, like some cute name that will help them remember it. But the other thing, Juan, that's so important about kids practicing in between practices is, as sports parents, we're spending thousands of dollars per year on these travel programs. And for me personally, if I don't see my kid playing in between practices, that's a sign to me that either they're on their way to being burnt out or they're not interested in this sport, or I should not be spending $3,000 per year for them to be playing this sport. So I think I agree with you. It's very important. We should be giving them specific assignments, and it's a true test of where their heart is at.
So within this app, Ian, would there be an ability for a child to upload here's the homework task you've given me, and upload that to their team or their group or to their coach?
They can upload that in the form of a message. They can also make their own videos, and they can upload their own videos. I actually think that with kids making TikTok videos like crazy right now, we're going to be doing a lot more with TikTok because I would love to see millions of kids are making their own music videos. Why not make those music videos while doing some sports skill like juggling a soccer ball with music playing along with it, and share those videos with friends? So that's where we're going right now with our platform.
Yeah, good. There's a gentleman by the name of Steve Davis that created about 4 years ago a virtual learning environment for players, and I'll have to connect you with him because he did a lot of cool stuff with the ball to music as well. So
Great. I like
and
that.
it was skill development. You know, it wasn't just technical skill, taking touches without making decisions. Right. So
I
you
like
said a couple of things there, right? You talked about spending thousands of dollars, right, for your children to play. If the child's not practicing, they're not engaged. You know, they might have other things going. They may be on the way to burnout. It may be because this sport is now becoming, most sports are trying to become year round, right? And we look at the stat of, you know, ACL injuries have risen 400% in the last few years. So, you know, is there anything on there, Ian, about maybe possibilities of injury prevention, right? Do this warm up, or do you have that ability as well?
So in terms of preventing overuse injuries, we put a lot of articles in our newsletter to help change the culture among sports parents and coaches. We all know, well, actually, did you watch Bryant Gumbel's HBO Real Sports episode that was just on last week?
No, not
Okay.
yet.
They cite the statistic that you just mentioned, that ACL injuries are up 400% in the last 10 years, I think, amongst teens. So we know we have an overuse injury problem, yet all of the sports programs are moving to 10 months a year, 12 months a year. That is not in the child's best interest. When Brian Gumbel interviewed a handful of sports parents whose kids had severe injuries that actually ended their career early, the parents all said the same thing. My kid loves the sport. We're on our way to real success. Our kids are elite athletes. How can we tell them that we want you to play less? And so therein lies the problem. I think every parent that I know is probably guilty of that at one point or another, including me, of letting our kids play too much of one sport in one year. And it takes a lot of discipline to say no. I'll share just one quick story. Last winter, I said to my daughter's soccer team, I said to the team parents, we are not going to play in a winter league. We're not going to play soccer in our winter league. We're going to take the season off and we're going to go, everyone should go try other sports. Some kids on the team swim, some do track, some play basketball. And I have a lovely relationship with the parents on my team, but they all said, sorry, coach, we're going to join a futsal league for the winter and we're going to play. And I said, respectfully, that's great, but I will not be coaching this team during that season. I'm protesting.
Yeah.
You know, so it's an uphill battle when you try to tell parents that the kids should take off a season.
Yeah. I had a group of 9 and 10 boys, and we set up a 4-week gymnastics class, and most of the boys attended together. So we wanted to work on their just foundation, their core movements, their core, and then, you know, some of them did play futsal, which technically is a different sport, right? Is the argument,
Yeah.
as is the indoor.
True.
But with my own sons played indoor, but they also played basketball. You know, my 3 boys, the youngest didn't want to play basketball, but the other 2 did. The other 2 played basketball, just because I think they're good donor skills. You know, they're good. You know, they add skills. So I think that's huge, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's in the race to the wrong finish line, right? Everybody's in the race to the wrong finish line. So, but there's some words, you know, obviously the words that keep coming back up, right? Empower children. Can we be child-centered? Can we make it athlete-centered, player-centered? Connection, relationships, trust. You know, it's these are so pivotal to everything that we do, right?
It is. So those words keep coming up in our conversation, but sometimes they seem counterintuitive. Like again, going back to the sports parents deciding to have their kids play year round, it just sort of makes no sense to them to say to their child, I'm sorry, I'm not going to let you practice 4 days a week.
Yeah.
That seems so counterintuitive. Or for, let's say a fall soccer team has a great season. They're coming off the fall season strong, and there's an opportunity for them to play in some winter indoor tournaments. It's counterintuitive for to say to the parents, your kids should take the season off because they think it's going to break all the momentum, but it doesn't. There's so much research that says it doesn't.
Yeah, but conversely, I think, Ian, the argument can be made, like, what about that child that doesn't want to do anything else, right? And doesn't get burnout or doesn't have issues with injury. There's that, what do you tell those kids, because most parents will say, well, my child's driving this,
So my answer for that child is research in the medical field will tell you that rest is a very important part of your physical well-being. And even if you are a superstar soccer player and you don't play any other sports, you don't want to play any other sports, there is reason for you to just rest those muscles and joints that you used for the last 10 weeks during the season.
Yeah, and I think that's spot on as
It's a
well,
tough
right?
one.
It is, but I think it's moderation. And one just chimed in again. He says there's a fantastic campaign from Sport Canada called The Group. It's a parody of sports parents addicts, and it's absolutely brilliant to watch. And I can share that. I've shared it before, and I'll share it with people again. I'm not sure if you've seen that.
I've featured it. I've featured it in the iSport360.
Yeah.
Newsletter is hysterical. I love it. Juan, thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah, but they've made a series, right? If you look at there's a dad playing golf, and the kid gets a little like megaphone shouting, "What kind of shot was that?" But they've made humor of it. Even with hide and seek, I think they've made a hide and seek one.
Yeah, we featured all of those. Those are from those are from Hockey Canada.
Yeah.
Hockey Canada is very innovative and clever in the way they market themselves.
Yeah. Have you also seen the one from the English FA with where they've got the respect campaign, and it slowly shows kids dropping out, due to an abusive coach. Yeah, I'll try and find them for you. And then the other one is they take some adults, and the children at the age of 11 start to play 11v11 in England. No 11 until 11. So what they've done is they've magnified the size of the field, so what it would feel like to a child. So the goal is like 9 foot high and 40 foot wide, and it's a very cute video. It's a very good video that you should probably feature too, and I'll send that your way as well. So
thank you. Yeah, that's pretty clever.
Yeah, so brilliant. So tell us a bit more about the app and the successes that you've had so far. Obviously 100,000 followers already, that the newsletter goes out to is huge. Hopefully this webinar makes it into that newsletter too.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. No, you've become a good friend and a good partner, Chris.
Yeah. Listen, whatever we can do to change youth sport for all the stakeholders, coaches, parents, clubs, players, I think we have a duty and a responsibility to leave that as part of our legacy, right? To make the change.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to mention, we can mention this a couple of times. I want to mention a promo code that all of your viewers can use to get a free month of iSport360 to try it out. The promo code is CLUBADMIN, one word, CLUBADMIN. So give it a try. We now actually have subscriptions for full clubs. We had a lot of club administrators who reached out to us and wanted to roll this out to their whole club. So that's kind of our biggest initiative right now. But the promo code is CLUBADMIN. It will give you 30 days of free iSport360 to use the app, start sharing feedback, setting goals, sharing sticker rewards, all of that. So I'd love for you to give it a try and reach out to us. You can go through our website. It's www.isport360.com and tell us what you think. We're very, very interested to hear customer feedback.
Yeah, brilliant. So again, just in case you didn't get it, club admin, all one word, and it's a free month prescription to iSport360. And I shared the iSport360 website as well, and we'll get more information about that. Tell us, Ian, what do you see as the next steps for iSport360, right? 100,000
Yep.
people are using it right now. How do we get that to, 200,000, 700,000? How do we get it to 1 million? And what do you see coming down the pipe for you?
Yeah, well, what really motivates me every day is that I go to youth sports conferences where the NBA is speaking and ESPN is speaking and Under Armour is speaking there, and I hear all of them saying the same things. How can we change the culture in youth sports? How can we get parents under control? How can we give kids the control of their own youth sports experience? I just hear it all the time. And to some extent, I wonder, like with all the money in sports, all the professional sports teams and leagues and brands and the Nikes and the Under Armours, like they have the money to fix this problem, but they don't have a plan to do it. They have the desire to do it, but they don't have a plan to do it. And that's what gets me excited. And that's why I go on as many podcasts as I can, and I reach out to executives at those major sports brands, and I say to them, we have a way to solve some of the major problems in youth sports. And it's not about how to create the next LeBron. It's not how do you create the next Messi. It's about how do you make sure every kid has a great time playing youth sports. How do we make sure kids have more access to sports with less injuries? So I really, for me, the future looks very bright, and for iSport360. And so I'm just trying to spread the word as much as we can. Even though we have 100,000 subscribers to our newsletter, I really feel like we're at the very, very early stages here. So we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and I agree that everybody on this and everybody who will watch this afterwards, we do have a lot of work to do. I think we have a duty and a responsibility to make sure children have a memorable sports experience. We have to be cognizant that they get one childhood, and it's our job to make it as pleasurable and memorable as possible, especially during their sports experiences. And just, we want these children to be lifelong engaged participants, right? Because they could be the future coaches, the future doctors, the future leaders. And, as John O'Sullivan says in his new book, every moment matters, right? So
that's right.
Huge. Questions from our audience. We do have a guy on from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He's a classmate of mine, Lati Ziba. Good Macedonian boy, and he's actually developed an app, and maybe offline I'll connect the two of you because there could be some dovetailing there. You know what I mean? But is there any questions for Ian? Any comments? Juan Gonzalez Mendia, you've dominated the floor with questions. We welcome more, especially with that South America brain and the questions that you have. But this is available for all sports, Ian?
It's 9 team sports right now. So it's soccer, which is our biggest sport, followed by basketball, baseball, softball, ice hockey, lacrosse, cheerleading, and futsal.
Okay, not rugby yet. So we might have to talk about that.
Yeah, rugby is probably pretty close. Football's pretty close. I mean, we get quite a bit of requests for those. Field hockey. We'll be getting to those soon.
Yeah.
But I would say one other thing, which we didn't really talk about for your audience, is that there's a lot of technology out there right now for youth sports. It's actually overwhelming. And so we need to put pressure on the big players in this space that have already created platforms that have millions of users to make those platforms complete. So think about Sports Engine or Got Soccer or Dick's Sporting Goods platform like Blue Sombrero, any of these, Stack Sports. They need to give coaches and administrators one app that handles all of this for them.
Yeah.
It is not fair to administrators and coaches that they need to use Team Snap for scheduling, iSport360 for feedback, Got Soccer for registrations, and on, training videos. Like it's just not a good user experience, and it's not fair. So I think we should all try to help move things in that direction.
Yeah, I concur. One-stop shop, right? Make it easier.
One-stop shop.
Yeah. So talking about one again, this is the other one. He said, what is the thing that makes you stop the car, get out, and go talk to a coach about what they're doing, both to improve and to congratulate? One, to answer that question, in New Jersey, that might be quite difficult. In Virginia also, because people do have carry and conceal. So, but you know, so just to answer that one, for me personally, like I've been around, I'll go to a tournament, and tournaments are a dime a dozen in the US, and people lose their mind because there's a chance to win a $4 trophy, right? So my favorite is when the coach is like this and he's yelling, you know, what are you doing? My usual response is usually what you taught them in practice or what you didn't teach them in practice. So I've had a few where I've spoken to coaches, but I also make sure I go out of my way when I see something brilliant to go over to the coach and just say, Coach, you know, you made my day by the way you spoke to that child or the action you did and stuff like that. But Ian, anything you can share with us there?
Yeah, on the positive side, something that always catches my eye is when a team has great sportsmanship. That is to the coach's credit. When I see a bunch of players go out there, play really hard, really intense, and then after the game, they still high five, shake hands with my team, say nice job, maybe go over to one or two of my players and say, hey, you did great out there. That is the coach who created a culture of sportsmanship and a love for the game. You know, something else I learned from Jerry Lynch is that we look at our competitors as our enemy, but actually we should be looking at them as people who help us grow and help us improve our game. We should actually be thanking them for the competition. So sportsmanship is very important. In terms of what makes me stop the car to go over and talk to a coach to try to help them change their behavior, I actually do that regularly because for a living and because I wrote this newsletter. I frequently will go up to a coach who looked like he had a really frustrating game. Maybe he beat us, maybe he lost to us, whatever. I'll go over and I'll introduce myself and I'll say to him, Coach, wow, that's got to be hard, you know, managing that superstar player you have whose emotions are all over the place. But I get it. I write a newsletter about these topics, and not only would I be happy to help, if you want to write an article and put it in my newsletter that shares your perspective, I'm happy to feature that. So it's a conversation I have a lot.
Yeah. One just shared an experience. You know, he was in Singapore at a rugby event, and he had a player pushing another child into position, and the parents were just like 10 meters away. And then at the same tournament, a coach had hug time. His girls could choose when to go hug and talk to teammates, coaches, parents, officials, and organizers. So the beauty of sport, right? The beauty of sport. So
it brings the world together.
It does. It can unite. It can unite, but we've got to catch them being good, right? We've got to catch them being good, and you know, we've got to emulate and model the behaviors that we want. You know, so sports can give so much, right?
It's true. So I'll share one more story on that topic, Chris. I was in Israel with my family 2 years ago. I had the opportunity to take my two daughters to play soccer on a field where Israeli boys and Palestinian boys were training on the same team together. The coach actually had to speak in both languages to give them instructions. And when I brought my two daughters there, first of all, these boys were not used to playing with girls on the field with them. So that was a shock. Yeah. Second of all, my daughters went full out with everything they had to show these boys what girls are capable of. But I learned a great tradition there, which was really special because you don't see Israeli and Palestinian kids playing together too much. But in this league, they actually have the Hi5 line before the game, so that the kids can kind of look each other in the eye and get an appreciation for each other. And then they do it again at the end of the game. I've never seen that done before and after, but I really, really liked that tradition.
So yeah, I've been fortunate enough to coach in a few countries, and in Italy, they do that, the Hi5 line before the game and after as well. And even the bench, everybody comes and they give the coaches 5 as well prior. So we started to do that as well with some of the teams that we coach. We go shake hands prior and just, tell the opponent play well. We don't want to wish them too much luck, but we do tell them play well.
That's right.
But, yeah. So any questions from the group? Any final thoughts before we wish Ian thank you and happy holidays, and safe travels to everybody traveling? Juan, going once, going twice. Juan Gonzalez Mendia. Oh, there's a question that's just come in again. I'm guessing it's from Juan. No, it's a comment. It says, top stuff, gents. Thank you very much. This has been brilliant. And one would be a good one for you to develop a rugby app with. So
duly noted.
Yeah, superb. So Ian, any final words, any questions I should have asked you, things that we didn't get to comment on and talk about?
All I would say is happy holidays to everyone. Please check out the app, iSport360.com, and use promo code CLUBADMIN, one word. And Chris, you're doing amazing things for youth sports. I look forward to doing a lot more work together.
Yeah, thank you. And I look forward to being an iSport360 and having a 360 look around sport and what we can do. And as we spoke earlier about the program I'd like to start, I think we have some great momentum, and I think iSport360 can help us with the coaches and what we're trying to build with the Spark Legacy program. So
good stuff. Cheers.
Brilliant. Happy holidays, and we will see everybody soon. Thanks, Ian. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.